How would Mercury express itself?
What Jupiter gives you when you have Jupiter in your ascendant.
How is Jupiter as a graha?
Understanding of what duty is.
How would Mercury be? Welcome to Sūkṣma, the quiet science of the soul. In the previous episodes, we explored the planets, the sun, moon, and the two shadow grahas, Rahu and Ketu. Today we turn to the two luminaries of the mind that shape how we think and learn, Mercury and Jupiter. Welcome again, Yadavindra.
Hi, Vrinda. So glad to be back.
So, shall we talk about Mercury first?
Mercury. In Jyotish, we call him Buddh, Buddh Graha. You remember the analogy of the kingdom?
Yes.
You have the king and the queen, and then you have a prince.
Yes.
So this prince is our Mercury, Buddh. And over there, it does two jobs. One is being princely, so enjoys life, adds flavor to the court. But at the same time, there is a serious side to this prince. He also works as somebody who gets the job done for the king. So, not so much an administrator, but like a personal executive assistant. And that becomes very important because when it translates into our lives, it expresses its qualities through our way of thinking and behaving.
Okay.
You remember when I said about Chandra, who is the emotional mind?
Yes.
It is the way the sense of self feels, experiences. It's kind of the graha who takes you into a dream world.
Okay.
Wants you to fantasize things, experience everything in the imaginative world, and suddenly you wake up. You realize you have to snap out of it, and that is the beginning of your Mercury, Buddh.
Okay.
So Buddh, the
Like
term,
a daydreamer.
like a daydreamer, and you shuttle between the two states of consciousness. Of course, we love to be in the daydream, but then you have to also attend to reality. That's why Mercury has a lot to do with our everyday life, a reality of our duties and obligations. That's why it gives us the ability to think. It is also an interpreter of reality. It is the one which helps us to make sense of things, and without which we would probably find it so difficult to relate to anything in our lives. A few things it does make a big difference in our life is through giving us the power of speech, the language that we speak. We are able to express how we truly are feeling, what we want. Is all the gift of Mercury, the Buddha. That's why it becomes very important how it is situated in your horoscope.
And it's also a young planet.
It is a young planet. So Prince. So that's one of the reasons it's one of the few planets which has dual roles. Okay. So it will give you a sense of happy-go-lucky nature. You will grasp things very easily, very quickly. You might be very good in academics, a very good conversationalist. You will grasp ideas very fast. Okay? And you will use that to make conversations, to make friends, because Mercury Buddh also is an indicator for your social life.
Okay.
But at the same time, when it comes to getting a deal, it's very sharp.
Okay.
Buddh, So you use your buddhi, like they say.
Yeah.
Is to calculate. So it's also an indicator of mathematics, numbers, evaluating cost benefit. Also to use your information of what's going on in the world and use it to make sure you get the best deal. So it's very shrewd when it comes to business, and very playful when it comes to relationships.
Okay. So going back to that party example, how do you think Mercury would be when it goes to a party and the sun is about introducing myself and moon is how I feel there? So how would Mercury be?
So now just picture yourself, you're at this party, okay? So you have a sense of identity, you know who you are, you know your name, you know what you do, blah, blah, blah. You're also getting a sense of how you're feeling in that ambience around you. Now, when you are engaged by somebody, and Mercury has a lot to do with engagement on the outside, while Moon, Chandra, has only to do with engagements inside. Your world of thoughts is always Chandra. So, somebody approaches you, or you approach somebody, and there is a chat. Now, the way you choose to describe yourself, the way you choose to express how you want to be, is all the quality of your Mercury. That's why each individual has a different way of introducing themselves. So your ability to figure out how must I use the knowledge of my language and my intonations and nuances, which comes your body language, non-verbal language, your verbal language as well, and also ascertaining, sizing up who you're talking to. These are very small contributions that Mercury makes in your life.
Okay. So it's like a communicator, it's about languages, I mean, speaking languages.
So that's why it's also known as the Vak Graha. Vak or Vacha in Sanskrit means ability to speak. And in the ancient times, the ability to talk was given a lot of importance.
Okay.
That's why language was given a lot of importance. And Mercury plays a very key role there.
Yeah, I guess we communicate only through language. So I suppose.
In fact, a lot more. So the sophistication of language played a very crucial role in the early parts of our human civilization. So Mercury here becomes very important because it helps you to develop the skill and the ability to express, and the way you want to talk, the way you communicate to somebody, whether it is communicating your ideas or also to share someone's ideas with you that way.
Very interesting. If we were to understand Mercury through placements, how it's positioned in the houses. So if we go with the ascendant, the first house, how would Mercury express itself?
So you're talking about a prince who is quite jovial, happy-go-lucky, at the same time shrewd. Okay, he's also a custodian of your language. He's a custodian of your intellect, your logic. Remember at one of the first episodes when I explained about astrology and orology is
Yes.
logic? That's Mercury. Because it helps you to make sense. Imagine that's sitting in your house of ascendant, your personality. Can you take a guess? What, just a
Yeah.
few, what it could equip you with?
I suppose analysis, for instance, to have an analytical mind, and you already spoke about it having a business in business to be quite shrewd and calculative. So I'm guessing a person would be like that, and yeah, of course, in today's world of AI and a lot of programming and
Oh, wow. Now, how did you come up with that? Very interesting. Even though Mercury does not deal with programming, but it deals with the logic of programming. So you're right. You're right. You're getting on, you know. So what you said is more or less what encapsulates when you have Mercury, Buddh, Graha in your first house. Let me add a few more things to that. Analytical mind, of course, but never to forget your analysis is not the serious kind, because Mercury gives you the ability to add humor and lightness. It's a very light-hearted, happy-go-lucky graha. So basically, you are a happy-go-lucky person. That's what makes you when you are having Mercury in the first house. Of course, behind this face of being jovial, you're also very attentive. Buddh, so attention. You're very attentive. Also a very good speaker. You could be a good conversationalist. In fact, interesting one. Logic, because whatever that you are interacting with, you are most likely people with Mercury in their ascendant may not be frivolous talkers. Okay, they talk light-hearted stuff, but a lot of sense. Okay, like you said, it's a young planet, so there's a youthful vibe to it. You'll be very youthful, and you would like to try out a lot of things, in life, like maybe theater, acting. It's a significant of acting. It loves to personify. Okay, sometimes I have seen people whose chart is having Mercury in the first house. You meet them at different point, and you will see different personalities. It's amazing because Mercury has this knack of picking out different gestures and characters and attitudes, and it likes to crystallize within itself just to experiment.
I think if I see any stand-up comedians, I'm going to think of Mercury.
So much. So humor and that, like the punchline, beautiful. So that you need Mercury for that. So in your first house, it gives you all those qualities. At the same time, academically, you'll be smart. Okay? You'll be. Now, one very important thing is, in the realm of the kingdom, Surya, Sun, if it favors you, it gives you authoritative disposition. So you could be a boss. Okay? If it is moon, lunar energy, you could be more playing the role of an HR. Okay? In modern life. Now, when it comes to Mercury, you are an excellent manager.
Okay.
Excellent managers. You do the operations, you manage, oversee everything, go into the math details, auditing, and point to point, business done. Is all Mercury.
So when you say logic, also puzzle solving, all that would be Mercury?
In fact, it amuses itself to delve into puzzles. One of the things which I remember sharing with you some time back was Mercury is a very interesting planet in our life because it keeps life interesting. Now, when you talk about puzzles, sometimes it likes to create puzzles of life itself. You might come up with these sometimes very radical, out-of-box questions just because you're not doing anything. So it keeps you away from boredom.
Okay.
So that way it plays a very good role.
Okay, I think we certainly need a lot of presence of Mercury.
People who have it, especially in the ascendant, I'm telling you, they will have a lot of fun.
Okay. So moving to the 7th house, the house of partner. How would Mercury position there be like?
I have to say one thing. People who have Mercury in the 7th house have a very interesting love life.
Oh.
Yeah, because Mercury, it's a very, again I'm emphasizing, it's a very jovial, happy-go-lucky. Why? Because when we go through all the planets, you will find the most who takes life as a form of a script, as a stage, just the theatrics, is Mercury. So it just makes life very interesting and light. Now you have that in your 7th house. So it's your unconscious ability to attract somebody in your life with Mercurian energy. So you're going to attract somebody who's very interested in puzzles. Okay? You could also end up meeting somebody through a puzzle group.
Okay.
I've seen a lot of times when people meet somebody who's going to be a long-term partner with some kind of a group like that, where they have some common either puzzle or some problem solving or something intellectual. Could be a library as well. Okay. But interesting group. You will also have somebody in your life who would prompt you and stimulate you intellectually. You'll basically come across somebody who's very intelligent. Will have a lot of conversations. People who have 7th house Mercury usually are gifted with a partner in their life with whom they talk a lot. A lot. They can, and very interesting talks. And that's one thing which they would miss if they were not to continue. Okay. You also have somebody who adds to your intellectual capacity, brings in a lot of knowledge, a lot of information. So, Mercury in the 7th house primarily is very good for your social interaction, especially with the opposite sex or the one of your love interest.
Yeah. So, and life, at least life with a partner will not be boring at all.
No. Mercury, no way. Most likely, again, I have to have the disclaimer. When I'm talking about everything regarding the planets, it's keeping in mind with all the favorable aspects and combinations.
Yes.
Because otherwise, a graha can get disturbed and then it starts behaving a little differently.
We spoke about that, yes. So moving on, Mercury in the 4th house, the house of childhood, mother, how would Mercury be there?
No, so I don't know if I have mentioned 4th house also indicates your academic life, particularly in school.
Okay.
So that's why when it talks about your past, it talks about your school life. And interestingly, when Mercury comes there, it's a young planet. It's also a planet of studies, academics, you know. And when it's there, usually you would have a very good experience in your academic life. Sometimes it can also happen so where your mom, your mother, or maternal figure has played a key role in your academics.
Okay.
It could also be, I have seen, where you've had very fond memories of doing your homeworks or assignments with your mother.
Okay.
Your mother being a very important role, particularly if it was math.
Oh.
She could also be somebody who's a mathematician. In fact, one case I saw where the mother was a banker, especially in auditing. And he has so much memory of his mother. That's it's amazing. Apart from that, you have your childhood with a lot of friends because Mercury indicates friendships, good friendships. You would also have a very interesting household. Now, Mercury. Now, when I talk about these planets, it's like a rabbit hole. You can open up and they can go on telling you so many things about your life that they indicate. Mercury in this case is friends, but also cousins. And I have seen when you have Mercury in the 4th house, it is likely to give you a fondest memory, time spent, maybe small short outings with your cousins.
Okay.
So that way.
That's really nice. I remember that, cousins, being with cousins really gives a lot of memories when you grow older.
Yeah, and of course there is a lot of reasons why Mercury indicates, but of course we will not get into it right now.
Okay. So as with the other grahas, I guess there must be some signs or rashis where Mercury is characteristics play out differently.
Of course, without a doubt, because when the moment Rashis come in, they just enhance the ability for us to understand how the graha will behave. For those who have missed out on earlier episode, Rashis are the ambiance of a house.
Yes.
So each of these Rashis, the zodiac signs, add the flavor. And when we talk about Mercury, let me tell you, to make it easier, where it is the happiest and where it loses its intrinsic ability and talent.
Okay.
So you've got 12 signs. And among those signs, there is a particular sign called Virgo. Interestingly, Virgo is a sign which is very representative of an analytical mind. If it is in ascendant,
Yes.
it is very prudent in the way you do things, nothing short of a perfectionist. And it's a very practical sign. Now, having Mercury here makes it exalted,
Okay.
which means it goes on its pinnacle ability, is the happiest. So when you have Mercury exalted in Virgo in your horoscope, basically what it does is accentuates its quality. So you'll become a better person to have conversations with. You'll be very well versed with the current news and the trends. You'll be basically very perceptive and intelligent. Your logic will be quite fine.
Very sharp.
Very sharp. And chances of having friends, particularly good friends, increases for you if it is in
Virgo.
exaltation, Virgo. Now, while I described Virgo, Let me talk about another sign which in characteristic it is slightly different. If it were to be in your ascendant, okay, that sign is called Pisces.
Okay.
It's an emotional sign. It's a very sentimental sign. It is a sign where a planet like Moon would be very happy. Why? Because it's very dreamy. The moment you have Mercury in this sign, suppose in your horoscope, so you're nothing to worry about. It's just that Mercury finds it a little difficult because it's sitting in a room with a lot of imaginative material, doesn't have enough ability to make sense of it, because when it comes to imaginations, it has its own logic.
Yeah, correct.
So Mercury
It can
debilitates
disappear
here.
in-
It disappears. So it struggles. It struggles because Mercury is very much interested in making sense of things. It's like that. At the speed of light, your brain working at every moment to make sense of every moment that you're going through. Pisces makes it a little challenging. Of course, with other signs, depending on its friendliness and unfriendliness, it
But
can
these two are the extremes.
are the extremes.
Okay. Okay. So now, if we were to move on to Jupiter, I know it also has to do with the mind, but is it similar to Mercury, or how is Jupiter as a graha?
So what you're talking about is a very important graha. In the Jyotish system, we call him Brihaspati. Brihaspati basically means Pati is the Lord of expansiveness. Brihas means expansiveness. And in this particular context, it's akin more to the emotional mind. So you've got Chandra, the emotional mind, and then you've got Buddh, the intellectual mind.
Yeah.
Jupiter is considered more closer to the qualities of Moon. That's why they are best friends in the realm. And it's a spiritual preceptor, Brihaspati. So for the king, while king depends on its prince, Buddh, to keep the ambience light, informs it about whatever is happening, the gossip in the kingdom. It's also keeping it informed about the mundane stuff, affairs of life within the kingdom. Jupiter, on the other hand, is an advisor or a teacher to help the king make the right decisions.
Okay.
Why? Because it is a custodian of dharma. Now, for those who don't understand what dharma means, we can say a sense and understanding of what duty is. It can also involve an understanding of what ethics is, your sense of morality, also the right way of doing things. Now, that would be the most appropriate way of describing dharma, the right way of doing things. So, Jupiter, Brihaspati, is the lord of that. It intrinsically understands that. It has the understanding. Here, when I say understanding, it's the emotional understanding.
Okay.
So, it's not going to go so much about facts. It's more about truth. Okay? So, it depends on what it sees and then perceives,
Okay.
not intellectually. Now, when we talk about Brihaspati in your life, it basically means your innate sense of wisdom.
Okay.
Your innate sense of wisdom, which is different from your ability to have knowledge and use your intellect.
Okay.
Brihaspati is a lot to do with your depth understanding of people's emotions and the emotional flavor of the world.
Okay.
It has a lot to do with that.
So, if we look at Jupiter in some key houses, I mean, the ascendant being the most important first house, how would a person who has Jupiter in the first house be like?
One point I need to make here is when we spoke about Mercury, we spoke about Mercury being a young graha, young planet, gives you youthfulness.
Yes.
Not the same with Jupiter,
Okay.
Brihaspati. It's a little middle-aged, so to speak, because it's got wisdom and it has a lot of interest in the sense of right and dharma and also philosophy. Okay. Now that does not mean it makes you boring. The moment it comes into your first house, ascendant, one thing which anybody who comes in contact with you will be you are very illuminating.
Okay.
Why? Because anybody who comes to somebody who's got Mercury in their house gets a lot of information. A lot of information.
Yes.
And the person is very interesting for them. But the moment they come across somebody who's got Jupiter, Brihaspati in their Lagna, it's a little transformative experience. So the moment you are interacting with somebody, they will unconsciously address some of your emotional doubts or your doubts on philosophical concepts about the political correctness or the right and wrongs of the world, or just understanding about religion itself, which is deeply tied to our human life.
Yes,
If you notice, religion is a very, very, very old line of thought that we came up with because we had to address some things about our lives.
Yes.
It also makes you very optimistic. Jupiter is a very optimistic planet because it knows, it's like the person who knows the cosmic law.
Okay.
So because it knows, it anticipates everything accurately. So it's very optimistic because it knows if it follows the law protects it. That's why there's a saying in the Upanishads that the thing about dharma is if you must know about dharma, you must understand, because if you understand it, then you automatically preserve it. You protect it. Why? Because then it protects you back. And that confidence is what Jupiter gives you when you have Jupiter in your ascendant. And
Okay.
it's natural. Jupiter will give you that. Jupiter also, contrary to what some might think, it's a very sporty planet. It loves sports. It's not about games, but it loves sports like horse riding. You have that in Olympics, the long throw,
The javelin.
the javel. That's
Javelin.
Jupiter. It also likes a derby. It likes to play football,
Golf
soccer,
also.
golf. Strategic games are the domain of Jupiter. It also, I tell you the meaning behind it. Anything that you involve yourself to expand yourself, your consciousness, your sense of personality, is Jupiter.
So what comes to mind is the word depth.
It would be the right word because it goes, since it's a graha which is connected to the emotionality, Chandra. It goes within. It makes you more expansive in a deep way.
Okay.
That's why people who have Jupiter in the ascendant will also be very fond of long distance travel because it loves to travel. Why? Not like Mercury, who just wants to travel to probably get the data and facts, whether it's business travel or just to enjoy some things. Jupiter travels to understand cultures.
Okay.
So it wants to go far distant, and a person who's got Jupiter would not go to your regular places. It would want to go to some places in the depth of Africa, or somewhere in the down south, in Australia or New Zealand, just to understand those remote cultures. It feels very enriched.
So history also, I guess.
History is a very strong indicator by Brihaspati, Jupiter. You're right.
So that's the first house. Then I guess seventh house, if we take the house of partnership, what would it mean for a person if Jupiter were to be in the seventh house?
So why don't I throw the question back at you? What do you think? Take a guess. I think you're doing pretty fine.
Okay. So how you've described it, I think a person would invite into their life a person who is solid and who understands them very well, I guess, but may not be so fun-loving, like how you describe Mercury. So a Jupiter spouse or partner, I guess, would be more serious and, as you said, maybe go on long trips, advise the spouse or partner, something like that.
Very nice. Actually, what you described more or less does fall into the same, except for only one. It's not a serious planet.
Okay.
It's a wise planet. So you will come across finding yourself attracting somebody who's wiser in nature. You know, so you might have a lot of friends or a social circle of the opposite sex or of your love interest, and you might end up liking somebody who's very stable. They strike a very good balance between traditionality and modernity. So they are modern,
Okay.
maybe in their outlook, dressing, but they have some traditional cultural values in place and very justified about it. So
Okay.
you will come across somebody who is very stable. That's one striking quality that you will get attracted to if you have Jupiter in the seventh house.
Okay.
Also, somebody who has a lot of wisdom will contribute a lot to your emotional intelligence, to your emotional perception of things. They might also help you, as they say in psychology, get connected with yourself. Having a Jupiter in the seventh house is a very good indicator for somebody in your life who gets you connected to yourself.
Okay.
Of course, the travel, yes, somebody who could be well traveled or encourage you to travel will encourage you, not push you to go beyond your comfort level. Jupiter is one who encourages. It's a very encouraging planet. Very encouraging. Also, it is people who know what gunas is, the three qualities in the Vedic thought, sattva, rajas, and tamas, can read about it. So Jupiter is a very sattvic planet. So when it is in the seventh house, it likes long term.
Okay.
So that's why Jupiter is consulted for a married life. So usually, if you have Jupiter in the seventh, it will not want to have you have many experiences of different partnerships. It will skim it down, conserve it, maybe one or two very attractive, stable people in your life with one who will get married to or have a long term relationship. That's what it does.
And following a pattern, if Jupiter were to be in the fourth house,
So in Jyotish, we look at horoscope and we evaluate the graha's disposition, as I've been saying, because it's like a conscious being who itself is a part of the Kal Purush, the cosmic being. Now, it's very important for each graha to feel the way they are in that particular house. Apart from signs, which create the ambiance, and then of course you have many other parameters. There's another concept called Digbal strength, which is a little technical, but what it basically means is some of the grahas naturally feel at home in a particular house, irrespective of the sign or any other influences. Jupiter naturally feels at home in the fourth house. Why? Because it is the one which gets to work on your childhood, work on your relationship with the mother or maternal figure in your life, and it gives a lot of stability. So when you have Jupiter in the fourth house, you will be a person with a very strong sense of tradition, but very balanced, not very dogmatic, very optimistic, have a very encouraging mother in your life. Very encouraging. In fact, people who have Jupiter, Brihaspati in their fourth house have this relationship with their mother who is not enmeshed.
okay.
But she's somebody who's played a very key role and lets you go. Makes you the man you could become to give that kind of autonomy and encouragement to the spouse that you will have in life.
Okay.
It's a very good sign. Also, academically, you might not be the one who is a high ranker, but interestingly, you would recall everything that you have learned in your school. You will have that. People are very good listeners if they have Jupiter influencing, particularly in the fourth house. They would be the ones who would be paying attention by listening in the class, not reading or writing.
Okay. So they may not score marks, but
They will retain the
take
wisdom,
things
the
away.
essence. They will know. I have seen people, even after 40 years, they have left their school. They know what the principle in physics or math or science, and they understood, even though when it came to writing tests, Mercury, so Mercury has to be very favorable. How do you describe the answer? Jupiter doesn't work so much on that. It basically works on retaining it.
which is more useful in life anyway. But
Yes,
of course, both have their positives and negatives. But
Yeah.
Yes. Lovely. I mean, Jupiter sounds like this person I would certainly love to have in my life.
Jupiter is that like in the Christian faith, you have angels who are by your side. I would give an analogy of Brihaspati as your angel. And wherever it is sitting, it's trying to work its level best to somehow encourage you and fill those gaps that are being created by the restriction or the helplessness of the other grahas.
Now, if we were to put Jupiter in the any of the houses, starting with the first house or ascendant, how would a person with Jupiter in the first house be?
So here I want to bring very important point. Like we discussed, Mercury being a young planet, Jupiter is not a young planet.
Okay.
It's someone who's middle aged, if it was to personify, because it has interest in wisdom, the sense of right and wrong. It's also an indicator of philosophy. So some depth comes along with Jupiter. Okay. Now that does not mean if it is in your first house, it makes you boring. It just gives you a different flavor. So if you have Brihaspati, Jupiter in your first house, one difference that will be felt by people around you compared to Mercury is when you have Mercury, people will feel you're very interesting because you give a lot of information, they take a lot of knowledge from you. But when it comes to Jupiter, Jupiter being more closer to Chandra, the emotional realm of the mind, they feel more connected with themselves. You unconsciously will help them to remove their emotional doubts, their emotional perceptions of the world, or even their perceptions about the political topics, the political correctness, about the right and wrongs of the world, or even about religion. Now, religion is a very, very important topic for all of us because from the beginning of time, we have been deeply yearning to understand if there is a God and it has a role to play in our life. Jupiter addresses all that. So a person who has got Jupiter in their first house will naturally have the inclination to have that wisdom within them.
Okay. So I guess when we, the same party example, I'm thinking Mercury would be a charmer there. How would a person with Jupiter tendencies be?
Very good question. See, Jupiter, I must tell you that when you have a comparison between, let me talk about Moon and Mercury first, and then I'll bring our conversation to Jupiter. As I try to describe, Moon has a lot to do with your emotional sensation and sentimentality.
Yes.
Mercury is about bringing that out through your language, through your gestures, passing on the expression. Jupiter, since it's closer to the Moon, it just solidifies your emotional intelligence. So, person who's at a party, even while they are interacting with somebody, there is this intuitive ability that they will have to read the room. They will have a very good understanding of how the mood of the room is. And there's a term in the Japanese philosophy, and I can't remember that exact term, but basically it means reading the room. That's why if you ever have dealt with a Japanese at a social gathering, you will first notice that they don't talk much. But if you get to know them, you'll be amazed how much they have understood.
Okay.
How much they have understood. So it gives you a very good emotional, intelligent capacity within the room.
Okay. So can we say Jupiter is intuition also?
Jupiter is intuition, your intuition.
Okay.
Yes.
So Jupiter must also be influenced by the signs with which it is present.
A lot, just like any other graha.
Yeah.
And like I said, we have 12 different signs. And what we're going to do is I'll talk about again the house that is most happiest in, and a house it finds itself a bit challenged. Remember I told you that being in the fourth house, it finds itself in something what is known in Jyotish as Digbala.
Yes.
Digbala, natural innate strength. Reason being because the fourth house is a lot to do with your uh, home and your family and your culture, tradition, stuff like that. It's very interesting because when you look at the zodiac sign of Cancer, Katak, and if it were to be as your first ascendant, it would naturally make you a person who likes to be at home.
Okay.
Okay, it makes you want to be somebody who likes to have good emotional relationships. Okay, emotionality becomes a very important theme for somebody with Cancer.
Cancer.
Naturally, when you have Brihaspati, Jupiter, posited in Cancer, now it doesn't have to be a first house; it can be any house. It just feels at home.
Okay.
This is where it gets exalted, exaltation, and it just brings about its qualities even better. So it makes you a more of an explorer, a deep person with deep interest in higher studies of philosophy and nature of things. That's why PhDs would be a symbolic representation of Jupiter. If it is exalted, chances are more. And it also increases your enthusiasm, optimism, and when very important aspect Jupiter has, which gives you, is generosity and compassion. Okay, so as people, we have our different segment of emotions. This compassion and generosity is by our Jupiter.
Okay.
Okay. Now you can imagine if I tell you about the sign where it is debilitated in, it feels challenged, and that sign is Capricorn,
Okay.
Makar. And why that is? Because by nature the sign is very outwardly practical. It's a very practical planet, practical sign. I'm sorry. It's a sign where it is only interested in climbing up the ladder, ranking, hierarchy, social hierarchy. Very ambitious sign. Jupiter finds that emotions, where are the emotions? Where are the sentimentality? Where are the humanism? So it finds a little challenge. Now, people who have Jupiter in exaltation or debilitation does not mean that it becomes a life-defining characteristic, but it gives you an idea of this particular graha, how it is either being encouraging in an encouraging situation, or in a situation where Jupiter, who wants to give you encouragement, is feeling challenged himself.
Yes.
So that's
So
where
that's how it expresses with two signs.
two signs, and of course with other signs, depending
in
on its friendliness and unfriendliness,
Very
it behaves.
interesting.
Yeah.
So initially, when I started, I had spoken of Mercury and Jupiter as two luminaries of the mind. And from what you have spoken now and shared with us, it does look like they are quite different. But if we were to put them together, I mean, how different are they?
Actually, they are different at the same time, very deeply connected. For example, you could have all the wisdom in the world, but if you can't express it,
Okay.
what am I talking about? You have Jupiter unexpressed because of lack of Mercury's help. But suppose you are very intellectual, you understand the worldly things, and you know the facts and figures, and you can talk about it, but you don't have wisdom, you don't have an in-depth understanding. Now, there's a very nice example, a very nice example. So Mercury is interested in facts.
Yes.
So you have tomato.
Yes.
Okay, and it probably knows tomato is a fruit.
Yeah.
But would it choose to cut it into a fruit salad? Probably yes, until Jupiter comes along and says, hey, even though it is a fruit,
You can't.
you can't put it in a fruit salad.
Okay.
That's wisdom,
Okay.
that way.
And in the same office, if Mercury is a manager, what would Jupiter be there?
A very subtle back end role, I know what you're thinking of back end, but here back end is a little different because the investor is the one who actually sits and decides of the vision, the mission statement, and the vision of the company for which he or she has put in the money, and they are the one who influence the company as being on the board as shareholders.
Um, I guess now, suppose I were to go on a trip. I'm thinking, how do Mercury and Jupiter play out there? How would that be?
Any kind of trip requires an itinerary. You will make, whether you use Google or you use a travel agent, and you'll have everything systematically laid out for you. Those idea to details, calculation, sequencing is all Mercury. Okay, and that's before the travel. Once you take the journey and you're at that place, what you experience, which may be different from what you have planned, is all your Brihaspati, the Jupiter. The Jupiter, while I say it's wisdom, it's experiential wisdom.
Okay. So, how you experience the whole trip would be Jupiter.
So all the plans that you have in your life, you come across youngsters,
Yeah.
and it's very interesting when you ask them, and they have this 5-year plan, or a 3-year plan, or a 10-year plan, and it's very good. But then you meet them after 3 years, or 5 years, or 10 years, Jupiter will be talking
Okay.
because they will know how different the experience is from the plans they made to experience reality.
Yes.
That way.
Thank you so much, Yadavindra.
Pleasure.
So, we can say that Mercury and Jupiter form the inner classroom of our life. One teaches us how to think, one teaches us how to understand.
Yes, absolutely.
I hope our listeners check their charts and see where these two planets, Mercury and Jupiter, are sitting in which houses, because it is these two grahas which help us to learn, to grow, to make judgments, and experience life in a better way. Join us in the next episode as we explore Venus and Mars, two more very important grahas. Thank you for listening to Sūkṣma, the quiet science of the soul.